Okay, so let's kick off. So it's all about making your website work harder. Okay, and we're going to talk. It's all about search engine optimization. I've been doing search engine optimization since I'm that old, 20 years ago. It was even before Google actually had Google Ads. It was that long ago. There was a time, believe it or not, when Google was all natural results and there were no ads. So, and it's evolved along. It's evolved in a long way in those last 20 years. So I'm going to cover something called Google Search Console. This is the first thing we plug in to a website as an agency. I want to talk to you about free tools. There are lots of free tools you can use. You need to understand your keywords, what your potential customers are searching for. 3 easy tweaks that are going to make a quick difference to your website. I want to talk about Google My Business. Google My Business for some niches, photographer, therapist, letting agent, I think is almost as important as your website, and it's free. And then I want to talk about going local. It's, don't always feel you have to target, say, the whole of the UK. Going local can win. I want to talk about backlinks. Backlinks bore our clients to tears, but it is so important for SEO, and I'll explain why. And then I want just to talk about making your website sweat a bit more. You've invested all this time and effort and money into your website, and it clearly should really kind of work for all that effort that you put into it. So first of all, Google Search Console. So Google Search Console is really the first thing you need to understand is, do you actually know what your current rankings are? So Google Search Console, when you plug your website into Google Search Console, it will tell you exactly what your rankings are. And once you know and understand what your rankings are, then you can do something about that. So for example, this is for obviously us, Leapfrog, where you can see, for example, let's say, let's give a choice here, SEO agency. This data is telling us that across the UK, we're position 38. So 1 to 10 is page 1 of Google. So that's position 8 on page 4 of Google. And then it's saying that actually people search for that over 3,000 times. So straight away, the data is telling you just how many people are searching for some of these keywords. Okay. And in your spaces, I think you'd find some real surprises in here in terms of what you may or may not already be ranking for. Okay. So Google Search Console is free. It's also a way of telling Google your website exists. Believe it or not, just because you launch your website, Google may not find it. And so it's a way of basically saying to Google, hey, this is my website, please come and rank it. It's also a great way of Google telling you if they think there are issues with your website. So there's a section in there called coverage, and it will tell you if there are errors. And those errors are something that you can work with your web developer to fix, for example, or you may be able to fix yourself. Okay. The Google Search Console is relatively simple to connect to. So search for Google Search Console, click on a link, and it'll ask you to verify. Okay. So if we click through, it'll go start now, and generally you verify if you've already got Google Analytics plugged in. You should be able to get access to Google Search Console by saying you've already got Google Analytics. If you struggle with that technique, whatever system you're in, there's loads of help online. So, say you're in Wix, just Google verify Google Search Console with Wix or with Squarespace, and there'll be easy online instructions for you to basically connect to Google Search Console. Okay, so that's pretty much the first thing we do when we take on a new client. Okay, is connect to Google Search Console. Right. Free tools. Everyone loves free. So yeah, let's dig in. Tools in the SEO space has mushroomed in the last 5 years. There's so much out there. And when we talk about free tools, what we're really looking at with SEO, a lot of these tools is about understanding keywords, because you need to understand what people are searching for before you can then obviously target those keywords and get on Google page one and get more customers basically. Okay, so there is this. If I'm using Chrome at the moment, you're looking at Chrome as a browser. There is a Chrome extension called Keyword Surfer Chrome extension. So if you Google that and then go through to the Chrome store, for those of you that are familiar with Chrome extensions, they pop up on the top right-hand side here. So you can go to the Chrome web store. My computer's having a moment. And you can then add the Keyword Surfer here. Okay, I've already got it installed. And I just want to show you what you can do with this. Completely free tool. Let's say I'm a wedding photographer. I know we've got some photographers in the room. Put wedding photographer into search. You know, how many people actually search for wedding photographer? Okay, so you can activate the Keyword Surfer tool. All right, so I'm just going to go and find it among the loads of Chrome extensions I've got. Okay, let's activate it. It should be working. Okay, so what happens is you've got this section on the right hand side of the search results, and this is where it doesn't work, of course. It should start giving you search volumes if we're lucky. Come on. Just thinking. So it should give us search volumes for the UK market, is the assumption here. Some of you may be selling elsewhere, for example. Yeah, so what this is telling me is wedding photographer, for example, that has 18,100 monthly searches in the UK. Okay, but it may give you ideas for other searches that people are looking for. So you may be targeting wedding photographer, for example, but there's maybe variations around that. You know, wedding photographers, wedding photography. People are always asking things about cost, and you know, average cost of a UK wedding, for example, that would be a good. That's searched for over 5,000 times a month. That's great for a blog article. You know, you could dig into. There's got to be research online that you could pull. When people are looking for the average cost of a UK wedding, I'm pretty sure they're potentially your couple to be about to get married that also would then be looking for a photographer. And you can keep playing with it. So, you know, wedding photographers, say London. You know, how many people are searching for that? It will just give you loads of those volumes. The problem always with SEO is if you go for the big volume searches, clearly there's going to be more people just like you, your competition, trying to pile into those markets. So sometimes it is worth going for what we call more of a longer tail keyword, like wedding photographer London, where there'll be less searches, but let's be honest, 3,600 every month is still pretty good. But there'll also be less competition. So it's much more of a, you're more likely to then get on Google page one. So sometimes it's not about maybe being so greedy with the keywords. Go for ones where there's maybe less competition, less keywords, but you will get on Google page one, and you hopefully will get some traffic. So, you know, this is wedding photographer London. Another tool is called SEMrush, and this is amazing. This is amazing for, again, doing your keyword research. So SEMrush is a paid tool, but they do have a 7-day free trial. So you sign up for your 7-day free trial and then use the tool as much as possible to really understand the volumes for your different keywords. So for this, you know, it's telling us, for example, people are using near me a lot, you know, and this near me search is being used more and more by people. You could be into therapy, you could be a physiotherapist, you could be a masseuse, web designer even. You know, a letting agent. People are going to look for a letting agent near me. Those types of searches are definitely worth going for. So yeah, that's another free tool, SEMrush, basically. So the great thing with SEMrush is, let's go back to that wedding photographer search. I often look at the competition, okay, and so I'm going to pick off one of these guys here, and I'm thinking, gosh, they're they're ranking for wedding photographer London, but what else are they ranking for? And so SEMrush is a great way of stealing, basically understanding what your competition is also ranking for, because you don't just want to get ranked for wedding photographer London. You might want to get ranked for wedding photographer or wedding, different variations. So what you can do is grab one of your competitors and just put them into SEMrush. So this is one of the competitors in the wedding photographer market, alistairfreeman.co.uk, and you literally just put them in. And we get so many insights when we take on a new client, when we look at their competition. And what's really, really interesting here is there's a lovely one here. So natural wedding photographer. So they're right at the top of page 1 for natural wedding photographer and has 260 monthly searches. Now, 260 monthly searches is a lot less than 3,600. But I can guarantee the amount of competition for natural wedding photographer is a lot less, and it's that sense of realism that actually if you went for a search like this where you went more niche, and then there's going to be other niches that people are looking for within, say, wedding photography. I think when we got married ages ago, the big thing was reportage wedding photographer, and there's got to be other variants that people are looking at where you could much more easily get on Google page 1, okay? And then maybe some other ideas in there. And you can just rinse and repeat with your different competition. Right. Oops. Where are we? Okay. I'm just going to go through 3 easy technical tweaks that you can do for your website. And it really doesn't matter what system you're in, there's some great systems out there. WordPress is the main website system at the moment. There's Wix, Squarespace, all sorts. And they've come on so much over the last few years. Okay, so the first one is Google doesn't necessarily come into your homepage and kind of find all your content. You need to give Google a list of all your website pages. And that is normally done with a thing called an XML sitemap. So in Google Search Console, you can submit your XML sitemap. All right. So a sitemap normally, let me just do this. For most websites, except for WordPress, if you go /sitemap.xml, it should be sitting there. All these systems generally automatically generate it there at /sitemap.xml. Okay, and then some of them have sitemaps of sitemaps, but you get the gist. It's basically a table of contents of all your different content. And this is just a very efficient way of Google to just basically just crawl through this and then hopefully rank your content. So submit your sitemap. That's really, really important. Okay. The next thing is think about your keyword at the start of your meta title. Okay. So when you first of all, what's a meta title? A meta title is something like this: London wedding photographer. Okay. That is a meta title, and this, by the way, is a meta description. And every page has a meta title and a meta description. So let's say I'm trying to optimize this page. Okay, it's a blog article to do with maternity shapewear. The best thing to do is, if you're targeting maternity shapewear, is make sure your keyword, so this is the meta title or page title, is right at the start of the meta title here. Okay, don't put it at the end. Google puts much more emphasis and weight on your keywords when they're right at the start. And often what people do is they put their keywords at the back and they might put their brand at the front. You see this a lot with home pages where people will put their brand first and then what they are. And I'd say swap it around. You're going to get found for your brand, hopefully. But what's more important is you're getting found for searches like this where people haven't heard about you, basically. I've lost my thread a little bit. Yeah, the other thing to do is if my target is maternity shapewear and I want this page to be found more for maternity shapewear. The other trick is to try on the same website, link to this page from another page. So it's what we call an internal link. Okay. And so one technique for that would be you want to go and find another page that is also talking about maternity shapewear. So you can put into Google a site command. So it's site : and then you put in your domain, all right? And that on its own will give you a list of all your website pages and blogs that are in Google. But then you can put a keyword in, so it tells you any of that stuff that's got maternity in. So I'm looking for a place that it feels comfortable that I can link back into my blog post about maternity shapewear. So I'm looking here. That's my maternity shapewear one. But there's one here, for example, talking about maternity bras. So I'm pretty sure if I went into this blog post, I could probably maybe change the words slightly and drop a link within the text for this for maternity shapewear. Okay, and that will then boost. That will help. That when Google sees a link from another page on your website coming in, it sees that as a vote of confidence, and that will help your rankings as well for that particular page. Right. Okay, Google My Business. I love Google My Business. Right. Okay, so Google My Business is over the last 2 years has become more and more prominent on Google. Okay, so if we go back to that search for wedding photographer, we've got the ads, the Google ads at the top. Okay, roughly speaking, 20% of people click on those, and then we've got the natural search result here, which from a lot of searches now is what we call the Google Map Pack with the individual Google My Business listings. And then we've got the list of websites. And we're finding for some of our clients, we've got a dentist, for example, most people are actually clicking through on the listing here rather than the actual website. So it's really, really important that you try and optimize Google My Business. To me, it's a second opportunity to get found on Google. You can get your website on page 1, but actually higher up than that, you can get found in the Google Map Pack, the Google My Business. It's completely free. Why wouldn't you give it your best shot in terms of optimizing it? And in some ways, optimizing Google My Business is actually simpler than optimizing a website. There's just less things you can do. The whole system kind of ties you down to only doing certain amount of things, basically. So the first thing you can do with Google My Business is obviously get your listing and claim it. Just complete it. 90% of people do not fill in all the necessary fields within Google My Business. Put your name in, your address, your telephone number. If you're nervous about revealing your address to people, maybe you work from home, you can actually say you're a service area business and hide your address. Okay, and you could still get ranked. So the main thing is just fill in all your details, link to your website, all this sort of stuff. Okay, it's fairly straightforward in there. The second most important thing really is when you do your Google My Business listing, you've got to make sure your main category is the right category. So you can put lots of different categories in for what you are, but your main category is the most important. So if we go back, and I realise I keep talking about wedding photography. If we go back to wedding photographer, the best way of understanding, well, what category shall I put in for Google My Business? And you can't make up a category. You have to choose one of the several thousand that Google My Business have. If this is the search you want to get on to Google page 1 for, look at the category that these people are using. And it's clear, it's fairly straightforward, isn't it, right? Wedding photographer, wedding photographer, wedding photographer. So make your main category wedding photographer. And then after that, you could choose other related categories. I think somebody in the room is a letting agent. Let's have a look at letting agent. If I wanted to search for letting agent near me, okay, let's see what pops up. Okay, so that's clear again, right? Interesting, that's plural and that's singular, but that's estate agents. Okay, so that you do something like that. Okay, let's do another one. If you're a web design, So web design near me. That one's quite a clear one as well. Web designer, web designer, web designer. So yeah, that's that one. Okay. Right. The next thing is to do with a weird thing called NAP. Okay. And what NAP is name, address, and phone number. So Google doesn't quite trust you or your Google My Business listing when it says, for example, you know, let's take one here, that let's say you're Emma Jane Photography and you're based in London and this is your telephone number. Google wants evidence that you from elsewhere on the web, that really is your name, that really is your address, and that really is your telephone number. And so they scan the internet to basically see if your name, address, phone number, your NAP, is mentioned elsewhere on the World Wide Web, and that it's actually the same. It's consistent. Okay. I'm just going to close a few tabs down. Things are starting to creak for this. All right, let's go back to that. That should be a bit. Okay. So one place, an obvious place for your name, address, and phone number is your website. You know, we're Leapfrog Internet Marketing. This is our address in Fleet, Hampshire. This is our telephone number. It's in the footer of each and every page on our website, and I'd really recommend doing that. Okay, if you don't want to reveal your address, don't put the first line of your address in. Okay, but try and put the rest in. That's going to help your rankings. Okay. This is where all these other directories pop in. So Google is scanning all the rest of the internet. Okay, so this is where you can go Royal Mail. You know, submit to, you know, Thomson Local. Make sure Facebook is updated. Bing. Make sure Bing. So it's just making sure that your name, address, and phone number is consistent across the web, and that's going to help your Google My Business listing, basically. Okay. An easy way of checking your NAP is there is a tool out there called MozLocal. So if you Google MozLocal, okay, you can go into this tool, okay, get my free listing score, and you put in your company name and your company address, and it will give you, it will basically give you a score out of 100. But more importantly, it will tell you where you aren't listed, or where maybe your address is wrong. So I put this in for a local plumber near me. Give me 41% score. This is where you could get. Now they are going to upsell you with their product, but they still give you the data, and you can actually go and change those directory listings manually. You know, it is slightly tedious, slightly boring, but it is something you can do. Okay. All right. Going local. So I've already kind of discussed this. We've talked about wedding photographer, how, say, wedding photographer, if you went for, was it natural wedding photographer, by reducing your competition, you're going more niche, it's much easier to get on Google page 1. And going local is just another version of that. So I could try and optimize our site, Leapfrog. We are an SEO agency for SEO agency. But I know, knowing what I know about SEO, I haven't got a cat in hell's chance of getting on Google page 1 for SEO agency. I'm competing against SEO agencies across the UK, and there are some big agencies that are spending vast amounts of money every month on their SEO. Us as a small niche agency, we just couldn't compete. Okay, but I do know there are people searching for SEO agency Hampshire. And this is where we can compete. You know, SEO Hampshire, straight away, there are going to be less people searching, but the competition is far less. And, you know, we've got on Google My Business here, albeit I'm literally sat on top of my pin at the moment, and that has a big bearing on where you get ranked. But then we're obviously in page 1, position 1 here as well, and that's working for us in terms of generating leads. So sometimes think about people maybe searching near me, or your town, or your county, or your city. That's a way of breaking down the competition and getting onto Google page 1 quicker. Okay, boring backlinks. Okay, right. So, I don't know if any of you remember your school days. So this is the SEO periodic table. So, you know, instead of sodium and calcium and potassium and all that sort of stuff, this is related to Google and what Google looks at when it decides how to rank your website. So, roughly speaking, Google looks at over 200 different things when it's deciding how to rank your website. So Google, like a lot of SEO, like a lot of things, I think some people are always looking for this magic bullet, this one trick that's magically going to get you on Google page 1. And it's just not like that. It's about if you do lots of little things together, that will then get you on Google page 1. And this periodic table really splits down the middle, and it's on page and off page. So you need to address on page. So this is anything to do with your website. So, you know, things like your meta titles there are quite important, meta descriptions, the structure of the website. What else is there? The quality of the content. Is it mobile friendly? Is it fast? All these sort of stuffs. But actually that only accounts for 40% of what Google looks at. What Google's actually also looking at, 60%, is off page. So it's nothing to do with your website. And the vast majority of this is other people linking through to your website from their website. And Google sees this as kind of a vote of confidence. So it's really, really important that you don't just focus your SEO efforts on your website. You kind of need to go out and get friends. You need to go and find somebody who will link to you. Okay. So you might be scratching your head thinking, well, you know, where do I start with that? Okay. One way is to look at your competition. So there is another Chrome extension called Mozbar, and we use this all the time. Okay, you plug it in. I think it works in Firefox as well, by the way. And then do a search. Do the search you want to get found for. Okay, and then what you see here is your Mozbar pops up here. If you then click on link analysis, this will tell you the backlinks, the links that are going into, in this case, it's Alistair Freeman. Okay. You can get a free account with Moz. It's not paid. Okay, they clearly will always try and upsell you, but this tells you straight away that Alistair Freeman has a number of links going in. So it's a case of looking at those links and thinking, oh, okay, maybe I could get a link. So this one, for example, he's got a link here to do with photography tips. I don't know what this website is, getblogs.net, but you can see if you go through, he's got a link here. Okay, maybe you could approach this and also write a blog, in this case about photography. Okay, he's got one on green wedding shoes. They've obviously done an article all about wedding shoes, lots of nice photos, and somewhere, although I can't find it, there is a link to Alistair Freeman. It may be in the credit at the bottom. Think about your own industry. Are you a member of a certain trade association, for example? You know, they normally have a directory of members within there, where you can get a link basically to your website. So if you're a photographer, are you a member of the Guild of Photographers? Or there may be other photographic associations. Sorry, I don't know any more about that. Where you'd get a listing, and with that there will be a link to your website. That link is super, super powerful because that link is coming from a related website, so photography, and they would also be quite respected by Google because they're kind of like a trade body. All right. Dentists, probably the most important link for dentists is from the British Dental Association. Super, super trusted. It's a .org, which is very trusted by Google. Making sure you're in the member directory, that's going to make a big difference to your rankings. Also think local. You know, particularly if you're trying to target local people, Our local district council is called Hart, and they used to, until about 6 months ago, have a directory of businesses, and you could get a free listing. And it was super valuable because this is a .gov.uk that's super trusted by Google. To get a link on a .gov.uk is amazing. And that link would certainly help you with those local searches, because people would, for us, for example, would say, oh, this SEO agency, they're definitely based in this area called Hart in Hampshire. You know, that's going to be a really, really good signal. Come on, very slow. Let's close a few things down again. Just all these tabs using other computer memory, I think. Sorry about this. 1 minute. Right. Is it going to load? Okay, so the final one is about making your website work harder. Okay, and this quite simply is you're spending all this time and effort. We've talked about this, getting people into your website. If they just come to your website and they do nothing else, it's completely wasted, right? The whole point of this is not to get website visitors; it's to get those website visitors to then take an action. And I'm a firm believer about being really, really not bullying your website visitors, but making it very, very clear to them what you expect them to do. You know, for a dentist, that would be making an inquiry and making those calls to action, those buttons, very, very clear and nice and high up. So for a dentist, this is the view on desktop. But of course, I think 70% of the people that come to this website, they're actually on their iPhone, they're on their mobile. We wanted to make it very, very clear, high up, what we expect them to do. And for a dentist, the call to action is cool. Most people call for a dentist, but not all business would be cool. So we've got another client, for example, where they sell data center services. It's quite complex, and every customer is different with different requirements for their data center. And what we found was when we plugged in an instant chat, the amount of inquiries that came in from instant chat where people didn't know where to start, but it was quite easy for them to just chat now and start asking. And you may find that's the same for you with your businesses. You know, there's going to be an awful lot of questions where people maybe aren't quite ready to make a full inquiry, but they've got a question. You've got to be careful about your work-life balance, of course. You don't want an instant chat popping up at, say, 9 o'clock at night. But there's ways of managing that with the instant chat where, you know, you can switch it off after, say, 5 in the evening or something like that. And a lot of the systems will integrate with things like Facebook Messenger. But we found the level of inquiries went through the roof when we switched this on for this particular business. And of course, if you're e-commerce, you don't want to generate leads, you want people to buy. And e-commerce is about being really, really obvious.
Having a technical issue.
Oh. Ellie?
Oh, it's okay, we lost you temporarily, Jeff, sorry.
Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, it's okay, we lost you temporarily, Jeff, sorry.
Okay. We're nearly there, nearly there. Where was I? Yeah. Yeah, so for e-commerce, you just want them to buy, right? You want them to add to cart, make your buttons really, really obvious, and then make the cart button really obvious at the top. Make it nice and big, make it obvious. You want them to check out and then buy, don't you? So it sounds obvious, but sometimes people almost hide their cart somewhere, and it's like you've got all these people to the website, you've got to get them to buy, you know. That's it, guys. Appreciate your time. We'll have questions and answers now, but if you've got, if you want to book in with me with a free one-to-one SEO, I'll drop in the chat my Calendly link and book a session with me. I can help you go through any questions you've got on a one-to-one basis. That's it. I'll stop presenting.
Does anyone have any questions or anything that they just want to run past us quickly now? Does anyone have any questions or anything that they just want to run past us quickly now?
Hi Jeff, sorry, that was really good, really appreciate that. It was very interesting. One thing that you kind of discussed there was backlinks. Have you got any tips on how to go about getting it? Because what I found is obviously a lot of people don't have access to the websites, they maybe rely on other people, or it's just maybe not geared towards having links on it. Is there other way that we can get it? Any ideas or tips on getting more backlinks? Because I think that's one of the things that my websites suffer from.
I'm a commercial photographer. I've got two sites. I've got
I'm a commercial photographer. I've got two sites. I've got a commercial photography website and also do weddings, so I'll keep them separate. But analysing the websites and that, they do okay, but I think the backlinks is what's really pushing some of my competition ahead of me.
Do you have any good relationships with wedding venues like hotels, things like that? Where that because I know because some of them I know list photographers, don't they, on their website?
Not too bad.
Yeah, I think so. That can be just a wee bit difficult because it maybe suits.
Yeah, I think so. That can be just a wee bit difficult because it maybe suits some people. They do
give as much time. I think they use a lot of these guys
because I maybe can't give as much time. I think they use a lot of these guys to do other work, and I appreciate that. That's what you need to do: put the work in. But it's tend to be full shops around here with stuff like that. I'm actually more on my commercial side of things. My weddings are okay. I don't want particularly more weddings. It was more the commercials really starting to grow, and I think when people see the stuff, they're more likely to book me. So it's just getting it more in front of the right people. I want to start with the SEO, and then I've got a friend who does the PPC and stuff, and he says that's obviously works really well for people as well.
Do you ever get credits for your photography?
Yeah, I always ask for it. I do get them from time to time.
Yeah, I always ask for it. I do get them from time to time. I find sometimes that they don't do it correctly. They maybe put my name, but it's not actually linked. And you can go back and forth with people. A new thing I've been trying. What do you think of people leaving reviews? Do you think that's beneficial? Because I've been trying to do that more, and I've upped it recently, and I've got that on my website, but I don't know how good that is.
With your rankings, especially if you can send them to your Google My Business listing, Brian. And with a review, don't forget to reply. Download. Yeah. So download the Google My Business app.
To do today.
Pops up. And when you reply, obviously it's polite to reply. Reply and then try and drop in your keyword to the reply. That helps. So great, the photography worked, or the photography services. You got it?
Fantastic.
Yeah, you've always got to think keywords.
Oh, right.
Brian,
okay.
backlinks generally are the hardest part of SEO.
Yeah. I've noticed.
It's hard for us as well every month to get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to get
I've
creative
noticed.
about what relationships you've already got, or like you talk about suppliers or associations. It is hard. It is hard. Yeah.
Okay. No. Well, thanks again, Roy, Jeff. So that was.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Roy, Jeff. So that was really beneficial. I really enjoyed that. I did see that you said you'll be releasing the notes, the slides. Is that something that you're planning on doing?
Recording as well. So you'll get that, Brian. Yeah.
Okay. And what about your link for your analysis?
Okay. And what about your link for your analysis as well that you said you'll be doing?
Okay, but I'll send that through on an event email probably tomorrow now, if that's okay.
Superb. Thanks again.
Cool. No worries. Any other questions?
Superb. Thanks again.
Jeff, we've got a question here from Inquiry CPF. Jeff, we've got a question here from Inquiry CPF. Do you think when people leave reviews, it's vital to reply to even positive reviews? I read it was, but my manager says it's too much time out of my day replying to them. He says only reply to negative ones.
I think it helps your SEO, particularly like I said to Brian, if you drop in your keyword. I mean, how many reviews are you talking about? A lot? I don't know. If you can, I would reply to all reviews. I think it's polite and it will actually help your rankings. So.
Yeah, quite a lot of reviews.
Yeah, I hope you get quite a lot of reviews.
I mean,
it is horrible when you get a negative, and sometimes it can be from a competitor or this sort of stuff. It's, yeah, but yeah. My question, is that from Laura? Yeah, you get quite a lot. Okay. Can you over-optimize, from Laura, and be blacklisted by Google? The danger with over-optimization is you should pick one. So say you're a wedding. I keep talking about a wedding photographer. Make sure you only optimize one page for one keyword. So if you're a wedding photographer, if that's your homepage, make that your homepage. Don't optimize another page for wedding photographer. Make another page about some other service you do. There's a thing that sounds very complicated called keyword cannibalization. But it just means if you have two pages that you've both optimized for the same keyword, they kind of pull each other down. They kind of go on they just drop. So I think the main thing with over-optimization is when you over-optimize 2 or more pages for the same keyword, Laura. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Okay, bye, Sue. Okay, cool, Laura. Good luck. Talk to chat. All right. Yes, Jenny, does a blog post count as a page? It's pretty much this one and the same thing. So blogs are great, actually. That SEMrush tool, if you're thinking, what can I write about? Put your competition in and look at some of their blog content that is ranking. And then if you can write an article that's bigger or better, you'll also get a ranking. So yeah, that's definitely worth doing. Any other questions? No worries, Jenny. I've never talked to a chat before. It's a bit weird. Anyway, okay. I think that's it, right? Yeah. Cool. All right, Katrina. Thanks. Thank you all for your time. And yeah, is it the weekend yet? Feels like it. Have a great weekend. All right, see ya. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.